Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. We have absolutely got a lot to cover in this video to get this bed finalized. So I'm going to try to keep the jibber jabber to a minimum. I have a mock-up here of the headboard with the legs in place. And I've marked domino locations, and we are going with 14 by 140. So I'm going to use the big domino for these. And I have this center panel just propped up here right now so I could get lines. But hopefully there'll be a bit of a reveal all the way around after we get these dominoes in. This is also going to be pretty much my clamping strategy. Now I only have 2 sets on here now. I will probably add 2 more, one in the front side, one in the back side to keep everything tucked in nice and tight. And I'll probably get a little help for that glue up. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and cut these dominoes, and I want to try to get this glued up tonight. So tomorrow I can get the footboard glued up and then go pick up some rail material and start making this look like a bed. Okay, so there's the headboard all glued up. I ended up having to add an additional clamp setup in the middle just to close a little tiny gap on this side, but I got a good squeeze out now. And I also added those lower 2 clamps front and back just to help keep everything square. So I think it's in good shape. I'm going to leave it sit like this for tonight, and tomorrow I'll do the footboard as well as pick up material for rails, and we'll start making this look like a bed. All right, so this morning I came out and I got the footboard glued up. That went together exactly the same way as the headboard did, so there was really, nothing unusual to show you there. These 2 boards here are going to be the rails, and these are going to be the strips that glue on to the bottoms of these rails for the slats to sit on. I'm going to get everything cut to length and glue these strips on. And then I'm going to spend the rest of tonight and probably a good portion of tomorrow morning getting everything final sanded on the headboard and the footboard. And then I will show you how the hardware goes on this. I'm just using traditional hardware, so nothing super fancy. But we'll go ahead and get that hardware put on and then start going after slat material. I have some of it here, but I don't think that I have enough. And that is just a long milling process to make as many slats as what's needed for this bed. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and get everything sanded. And sometime tomorrow I'll flip this camera back on and show you what we're doing with the hardware and get my tables resituated here. And hopefully we're setting up a king-size bed. So, my Rubo being on wheels, I don't know that I could have done this project without that, because it's the only surface I have long enough to fit a king-size bed on. So I'm grateful for that, and then being on wheels I was able to move it away from the wall because it's also much narrower than what the headboard is. So anyways, let me get to some sanding, gluing some strips on here, nothing fancy there. And I'll show you what we're doing with hardware when I turn the camera back on. Okay, I got everything sanded up and I'm happy with it. I also located the hardware, and I have the hardware screwed in with just some little tiny screws just to hold it in place. I needed the holes for the mounting anyway, and they'll work fine as pilot holes, but it allows me to use my marking knife to come back and line all the edges. And all I'm going to do is just a plunge router and cut these mortises, and then of course clean up the edges with the chisel, just like normal. Okay, so I know this is a little difficult to see. It's even harder to film. But all I did was take a couple little Rockler squares, clamp them on there so that I know I'm flush with the outside of the board. I'm going to flush up on the bottom, hold it in place, and use a Vicks bit to locate my center. So there's the first dry fit of the bed. Everything went together just super nice. Ready to get after the slat material next. I still have to sand the rails as well. Of course, there's finish to do. I could do that just about any time now, but I'm going to go after the slat material next. Okay, so there's all the slat material cut. Really, the only thing I'm going to do to that is probably skip plane it just to ensure that they're all the same thickness. I chose alder as a species because I had plenty on hand. Next thing up is a support rail up the center. I have to support those slats in the middle, or I think a king-size bed would just be too much. So I'm going to mill up a piece of 8/4 sapele that I have, and it'll get a foot roughly in the center, and have to kind of devise a way on how it's going to attach to the headboard and the footboard. But I'm going to mill up that chunk next, and then I'll show you what we're doing for mounting it to the headboard and the footboard. Okay, so I had a little bit of a rough afternoon. I thought I had a piece of sapele big enough to make as that center runner, and lo and behold, the 8/4 sapele that I had was it was a little bit too short. So I thought, no big deal. I do have some alder here, which is what my secondary wood is. I'll just grab some of that 8/4 alder and mill it up. Well, this is what I milled up, and you can't see it, but it actually just absolutely came apart during the milling process. So that wasn't going to get it. And looking through my stack, I just didn't have anything else. So I actually took 2 pieces of sapele that I had 4/4 and laminated them together and milled it up, and that'll just make the center rail. No big deal. And I took the piece of sapele, 8/4 sapele that I had that was too short, and I cut it down into these 2 rails, and I cut this notch in the middle of them here. And I made 2 of them, one for the headboard and one for the footboard. So they will literally sit in like this, and I will glue them in here tonight, and I will notch out the center rail, which will fit in that little half lap. And then once I determine and get a real world measurement of distance to the floor, I will create a little glue-on block here and probably a threaded in foot for the center. And that should support that center section just fine. So I'm going to glue these up tonight and get these notched out, and then I will show you that in the morning when I come back out here and get back to work, because we got to do the glue up block on here. But we are getting awfully close to finish, and hopefully all this comes together just nice. Okay, so the last thing I did for tonight is I just made this little foot that goes underneath the main beam for a floor support. I left, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch there just to account for different flooring and whatnot. And if I needed to, I could come back and add an actual foot to this, an adjustable foot, but I don't think that's necessary. So all I'm going to do is just go ahead and glue this on and call that a wrap for tonight. All right, we'll give that a good sanding in the morning and hopefully get this bed finished up. All right, so I came out and got an early start on this today. I'm hoping maybe by tonight to be going to finish, and we'll talk about that when I get there. The center rail fit great. I'll show you a close-up of that when we actually start installing these slats. Even though you can't see it, it's on the other end. I've numbered all of these slats so that they go in a particular order. But if they move the bed later, I'd like the slats to be, for the most part, interchangeable as to their location. So I created a small jig here. It's really just a couple of little pieces of 1/2-inch plywood, some super glue, and a little washer on the end so that I can locate center on each one, and that'll put my screw holes all in the same place. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these holes and get them countersunk for the 12 slats, so that's 24 holes, and get ready to install these slats in the bed. So I set a few of the slats in just because this is getting really hard to film because this piece is just so big. But to get the slats in, I created some 4-inch spacer blocks, one for each side. That makes sure that I maintain, the same spacing all the way down. I switched to an extension drill bit, pilot drill bit, just so I don't mar up the sides of the rails with the drill. And I changed my template for the center rail, so it just clicks on and hooks up center and allows me to go ahead and pilot drill that one as well. Again, maintaining that consistency so that if they switch these slats around, it shouldn't be a big deal. All the holes should line up. So all I'm going to do is get these all installed, and I'll try to find a better camera position to show you when I got them all in. Okay, so I'm all set up to shoot. I'm going to be shooting general finishes, waterborne finish. Got a respirator on. I've got a window open so we can vent this out. And I'll be blocking out with 400 between coats. Now I'm set up to do the insides on everything here first, so I can be a little rougher, a little dirtier on this stuff. But yeah, we're going to get all this stuff done. I'm going to show a little bit of my shooting so you see how it goes, and then I'm going to turn this camera off and get my equipment out of here. Okay guys, there it is. It's all wrapped up. I apologize for the lighting a little bit. I had to set this up in my wife's quilting room because it's going to be a while before it goes to its final home, and I wanted it to completely set up for a little while, and just in case things move or whatever, it all moves together. So in total, I ended up with about between 5 and 6 coats. Some were a little heavier than others of high performance general finishes, high performance waterborne finish, and it Sapili will darken over time. Hopefully some point matches their nightstands in color a little bit better. But that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop me an email. My email is in the show notes, or leave a comment here. That's fine too. But yeah, it's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. So until next time, take care.